Obama, pretty much on the same day the Congress just put through some new loan guarantees for Israel to go on building settlements in the illegal occupied territories of Palestine. And so it is amazing. Israel is basically on top of simply this act of piracy on the high seas and this violation of international law. Israel is literally almost, it seems like, daring the United States to try and do something, or at least trying to show that the U.S. can't do anything, that the U.S. is going to be forced to go on spending money in Israel, and Israel is just going to do what it wants, whether it's building more settlements or seizing ships with former congresswomen on them. Israel is completely out of control here, and they're basically...
But, I mean, the move to make would be just let her bring the medicine and cement in, and then it wouldn't be a big PR coup for Cynthia McKinney and the Free Gaza groups. I mean, I guess just Israel just does not care.
Yeah, Israel doesn't care. They're convinced that if they spend enough money and if they control enough media, that their world image can be repaired. I mean, after the disaster of Operation Cast Lead, they're spending millions of dollars to run ads. Believe it or not, they're even running ads on my radio show here on GCN. And it's astounding the arrogance that's on display here. Because you're right, the world is seeing Israel is literally trying to enforce mass starvation on the people of Gaza.
Hold on just a minute. Hold on just a minute, Mike. Who's running ads on your show?
Believe it or not, the Israeli Tourism Authority is running ads on my show.
Oh, I know what that is. That's USA Radio Network News.
Yeah.
They're not running ads on Genesis. That's news that stations request, and about the only news out there is Fox, ABC, and USA Radio News. Yeah, I've heard those ads. Man, that is just incredible, Mike. Well, I mean, it's just a disaster. And do we know what's going to happen to Cynthia McKinney, or are they going to waterboard her or let her go, or will the media even care?
Well, the media obviously is not caring. They're still all caught up with Michael Jackson, and I've been around the TV channels this morning searching for any indication that this is even showing up on the radar of the corporate media, and so far I haven't found it. It's all distraction out there in the corporate media. As far as what is going to happen, Haaretz has actually confirmed that the Israeli Navy did seize the ship. So it's no longer just a case of rumor and it's, just the Free Gaza people making spurious claims. Haaretz has confirmed that this has in fact happened. The ship is in port. The crew and passengers are in custody right now. What happens next is Israel's going to make a big stink about violations of their national sovereignty, forgetting, of course, that Gaza is occupied territory and technically, Israel doesn't have a say what goes on in Gazans waters. Of course, we know that's definitely not what's going on. Israeli forces routinely shoot up Palestinian fishing boats because Israel wants to harvest those waters. And again, this is all about forced starvation. The Israelis are literally trying to starve the Gazans into giving up and leaving because Israel covets that land.
Well, Israel's argument on record is that we took the land over here from the Native Americans, so what's wrong with them taking some of that land? And then they say, hey, you had no claim to the American Indians. Our ancestors had some claim to this. It's just incredible tribal warfare. It never seems to end, and it's really scary. On another note, the video obviously surfaced. We've got it up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. But, Mike Rivero, I wanted to get your view on Obama saying, I will never sign signing statements that go against the will of Congress. Now he's signing 7 huge signing statements, literally drawing out whole areas of bills, which really isn't constitutional, but he's ordering the bureaucracies to ignore Congress, and now saying he has that power. So that's going on. Then we also have Axelrod and others making the rounds on the Sunday news show saying, yeah, we're going to go ahead and raise taxes on everybody and on health care below $250,000. And they're saying Obama promised a compromise. So he made pledges he wouldn't raise taxes, and he made pledges he wouldn't do signing statements. But now he made pledges to compromise, so that means lying to people. I mean, this guy is broken every promise he said he would.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. I think the amount of time it takes for Obama to break any of his promises can be measured with an egg timer these days. And his word is absolutely worthless. And maybe we ought to sell egg timers that say Obama truth measuring device or something like that. But really, he's been this incredible disappointment because we all, I know you didn't, but there were so many people who supported him as at least marginally better than John McCain because we were expecting that there were going to be changes brought in. It was going to be the White House and Congress were going to be in Democratic hands. We expected there would be changes. It isn't. Nothing has changed at all. Our soldiers are still in Iraq. Yes, they're leaving the cities, which is kind of a token cosmetic thing only, but they're not leaving Iraq. They're just moving to more difficult quarters. They're changing their locations within Iraq, but they're still garrisoning the country. It's still a U.S. vassal state. They're still trying to kick up a war in Iran with this provocation of the attempted coup d'etat. And it really is. I am convinced our government knows that the end is near for the economy and that the only way they can survive is to kick up a major war on which they can blame the economic hardships. Because otherwise, absent a major war, the American people are going to put the blame for the destroyed economy right where it belongs, on the federal government.
Mike, briefly, on every front, this bill for the feds to federalize the whole country under water rights, this Clean Water Restoration Act, the bill to give the Federal Reserve power over all financial operations and, quote, anything that affects the economy, so the entire nation, bills to restrict and ban most types of firearms, compulsory service, the global carbon tax, total amnesty. I've never seen such a wild rush to get it all done. And the hate crimes legislation passing the House, word for word, saying if you hurt someone's feelings, you're going to be arrested. No more free speech. I mean, they know we're waking up to them, so they're just going for broke right now.
That's exactly right. This is a big rush. It's a big hurry. They know that it's in a race against the clock because the American people are waking up. I'm surprised that the American people haven't been rioting to this point, but it has to happen at some point. There's going to be a catalyzing event where the American people are going to say, okay, we can't go on pretending that this is going to correct itself. The government is completely out of control. It is a tyrannical dictatorship. It is a fascist economy. They're basically moving to slam the door on all of us to make us so helpless we can't fight back, and we've got to decide that we're going to fight back while we still have the means and the option to do so.
Well, Mike, the reason I knew Obama was bad news is 8-9 months before the election, he was saying some really good things, and I said, well, this guy, if he's for real, they're going to put a bullet in him or they're going to bring some scandal out and get rid of him. But then, as he started getting ready to win, he started flip-flopping on almost everything. I saw his advisors. I saw him getting 4 times the Wall Street money that John McCain did. So it wasn't that I was for John McCain. I just knew that Obama was the chosen one. And if the establishment was saying he was the chosen one, there was no way he was going to honor all these pledges, these solemn pledges he had made. And so now it's just total betrayal. And when I see him go to the Middle East and say, I want to be friends with Iran a month ago, I went on air and I said, they're about to try to overthrow him during this election. Sure enough, that happened, and he's lying, saying the CIA isn't involved when they're involved on record. So Obama says he's not involved in the Honduran coup, and now it comes out the CIA is running the whole thing. I mean, it's just, this guy is a good liar. He's the best liar we've seen in a long time. He's very, very wicked. I mean, because he enjoys lying. He really does a good job of it. And so it's very scary. But final point I'd like to hear from you on, you've really done great research at whatreallyhappened.com on the anthrax case. In 3 minutes or less, break down that whole saga and then them grabbing him and killing him in the mental institution, and now the DNA comes out proving it wasn't him, the third patsy, because that ties into this BBC. They've grabbed and arrested this guy that made this 7/7 documentary, and now they're saying he's schizophrenic and thinks he's God. This seems to be their favorite M.O.
Well, this is a tactic that's right out of the Soviet Union. Anybody who had information that was damaging to the government and they couldn't disprove or discredit him, they'd declare them insane and lock them in a mental hospital. And the media would basically say, well, you can't listen to anything this guy says because he's a nutcase. And this is a common tactic, and the U.S. has certainly used it before. Jim Garrison's trial, you were talking about the shake and bake tactic. Jim Garrison's trial against Clay Shaw was destroyed by a witness who sounded really good and convincing up until he started admitting that he was worried about his daughter being replaced by a duplicate, and completely destroyed Garrison's case. As far as the anthrax case is concerned, they've been trying to blame it on Arabs and so forth and so on. When that fell apart, they started to find a patsy. The bottom line is the Hartford Courant reported there was a scientist actually caught entering the storage area where the anthrax was kept without authorization after being fired over a racially motivated attack on